Hello everyone. With this video, we begin a series on various aspects of missile and nuclear weapons. This is an introduction, in which we provide general information about nuclear powers and the number of nuclear warheads. It should be noted that transparency has significantly diminished due to the war in Ukraine and the rising global tensions. Some nuclear powers overstate the number of nuclear warheads to intimidate and deter potential adversaries, while others, conversely, understate their numbers to demonstrate their commitment to peace. Statements about the presence of nuclear weapons and their numbers are often propaganda in nature. Currently, unfortunately, there is a group of politicians who believe that the limited use of nuclear weapons does not have catastrophic consequences and that their use in limited quantities is entirely possible, and that the use of low-yield weapons, up to 2 kilotons, is generally safe. However, awareness of the dangers of nuclear weapons continued throughout their development, and as a result, the UN proposed the Treaty on the Non-Proliferation of Nuclear Weapons, NPT, which was adopted in 1968 and took effect in 1970. The treaty remains one of the most important treaties of the international community. This treaty expressed the world community's position on nuclear weapons and nuclear energy in general. The paradox of nuclear weapons is that they not only pose a threat to all of humanity, but also ensure national security. Every state knows that if it launches a nuclear strike first against a nuclear-armed adversary, it could be destroyed by a retaliatory strike or suffer catastrophic destruction. This creates nuclear deterrence. As of the end of 2025, there are 9 nuclear powers in the world. The NPT defines a nuclear power. A nuclear power is one that has produced and tested a nuclear device before January 1, 1967. Only 5 states, the United States, Russia, the United Kingdom, France, and China, meet the definition of a nuclear power, and their right to possess nuclear weapons is recognized as legitimate. These 5 states are considered the standard nuclear powers, or the so-called nuclear club. This group possesses up to 95% of the world's nuclear weapons and maintains a state of mutual nuclear deterrence. The treaty's 3 interrelated provisions, which create a balance of obligations between nuclear and non-nuclear states and aim to prevent the emergence of new nuclear powers, are non-proliferation of nuclear weapons, promoting the peaceful uses of nuclear energy, achieving universal nuclear disarmament. The United States was the first to develop and use nuclear weapons. Nuclear weapons were developed as part of the Manhattan Project, which began in 1942 as soon as it became clear that Germany's nuclear program posed a grave threat. The explosion of a nuclear device in the United States in New Mexico in 1945 and the subsequent atomic bombing of the 2 Japanese cities Hiroshima and Nagasaki just 3 months later marked the beginning of the nuclear era and the launch of the nuclear arms race. The world witnessed the consequences of even small nuclear strikes. This forced the USSR and several other countries to consider the emerging threats posed by atomic weapons and accelerate their own development. The number of nuclear warheads in the United States is estimated at 5,428. Of these, 1,644 are on active duty and 3,724 are in storage. In the USSR, the atomic project began in 1942, as soon as Soviet intelligence learned of the Manhattan Project. It is widely believed, supported by facts, that the key secrets of the atomic bomb and the infrastructure for its creation were obtained by Soviet intelligence. But in the nuclear arms race, all means were fair. Designs were stolen, scientists were lured away, uranium was smuggled, and so on. 4 years later than the United States, on August 29, 1949, the USSR tested a nuclear weapon with a yield of approximately 22 kilotons at a test site near Semipalatinsk in what is now Kazakhstan. Recognizing the mortal danger to its regime, the USSR rapidly developed and, by the mid-1950s, had largely achieved sufficient nuclear power to strike the United States and its allies with an unacceptable strike. At the same time, the USSR lagged significantly behind the United States in nuclear delivery systems. The number of nuclear warheads is estimated at 5,977, of which 1,588 are on alert and 4,389 are in storage. China gained access to nuclear weapons with the help of the USSR, which provided significant assistance in developing the atomic bomb in the 1950s, transferring technology and equipment, training thousands of specialists, assisting in uranium exploration, and helping build reactors. However, this assistance ceased in 1959 due to deteriorating relations. China continued and completed its nuclear weapons development independently, successfully testing its first atomic bomb at the Lop Nor test site in 1964. Chinese scientists, educated and experienced in the United States, made a significant contribution. Returning to China, they passed on many of the United States' atomic energy secrets. The number of nuclear warheads in China is not published and is known only from estimates by various agencies. The total number is estimated at 500 to 600 warheads, of which up to 60 are on alert and the rest in storage. The United Kingdom conducted its first test on October 3, 1952, near the Montebello Islands off the coast of Australia. Nuclear weapons were developed with U.S. participation. As of 2025, the UK possesses an arsenal of approximately 225 warheads, all produced in the UK. 120 warheads are deployed on 4 submarines with Trident II missiles. Each Trident II missile can deliver up to 8 warheads, and each submarine can carry up to 128 warheads. All 4 submarines can carry up to 512 warheads. The number of warheads is artificially limited by the government for financial and political reasons. The UK also has B-61 bombs in storage. 12 F-35s, purchased specifically from the US for this purpose, will be used for delivery. Thus, the total number of nuclear warheads is estimated at 180, of which 120 are on alert and 60 are in storage. France conducted its first nuclear test on February 13, 1960, in the Algerian Sahara, making it the next nuclear power. This test was part of the nuclear deterrence policy actively pursued by then French President de Gaulle. Previously, France possessed a nuclear triad equipped with medium-range launch vehicles. Currently, all warheads are deployed on 4 nuclear submarines, and 60 tactical air-launched warheads, ASMP, are in storage. Thus, the number of nuclear warheads is estimated at 360, of which 300 are on combat alert at varying levels of operational readiness, and 60 are in storage in arsenals. India conducted its first nuclear test in May 1974 and declared itself a nuclear power in 1998. India developed and is developing its nuclear weapons for 2 reasons: the potential threat from a nuclear-armed China, which aspires to become a world leader and shares a border with India, and India's confrontation with Pakistan, which has repeatedly led to armed conflict. The Indian nuclear program began with the assistance of Great Britain, Canada, and the United States, which effectively built dual-use research reactors capable of producing weapons-grade plutonium. The number of nuclear warheads is estimated at 160. The exact number of these on combat duty is unknown. The Pakistani nuclear program began in January 1972. The immediate precipitating factor was Pakistan's humiliating defeat in the war with India, which led the Pakistani ruling elite to recognize India's superiority in conventional weapons. 5 underground test explosions were conducted on May 28, 1998, at the Chagai Hills test site. All charges were uranium-based. The Pakistanis claimed the combined yield of these explosions exceeded 40 kilotons. Islamabad's tests were a response to India's series of nuclear tests on May 11 and 13, 1998. The number of nuclear charges is estimated at 170, all of which are in storage. Israel neither confirms nor denies the presence of nuclear weapons, but some experts believe it has possessed them since the late 1960s and early 1970s. Israel has not signed the Nuclear Non-Proliferation Treaty and maintains a policy of nuclear ambiguity. The number of nuclear charges is estimated within a very wide range, which creates confusion. An estimate of 80 to 100 nuclear warheads of various types is considered realistic. It is believed that these could be delivered by Jericho ballistic missiles, F-35A aircraft, and Dolphin submarines armed with cruise missiles. Israel is a regional nuclear power in the Middle East. North Korea. On February 10, 2005, North Korea publicly announced for the first time that it had developed nuclear weapons. On October 9, 2006, the first nuclear explosion was carried out. In April 2012, amendments were made to the North Korean constitution regarding the country's nuclear status. The concept of defensive defense has become the main driving force behind North Korea's nuclear program, which began in the 1950s. In 1959, North Korea signed agreements on cooperation in the peaceful use of nuclear energy with the USSR and began construction of a research center in Yongbyon, which was commissioned in 1964. By 1965, the Soviet-era IRT-2000 reactor was installed there. Experts believe it had a dual purpose: generating electricity and producing weapons-grade plutonium. In 1993, North Korean officials informed IAEA inspectors that, as early as 1975, approximately 300 milligrams of plutonium had been extracted from the IRT-2000. China provided assistance to North Korea in developing nuclear weapons, but little is known about the nature of this assistance. From the mid-1950s to the early 2000s, the goal was to create infrastructure for the peaceful and military use of nuclear energy. From the 2000s to the present, despite various forms of pressure, North Korea has only strengthened its nuclear status. The number of nuclear warheads is estimated at 50. How many of these are on combat alert is unknown. According to estimates, North Korea possesses a minimum deterrent capability, meaning it is capable of partially destroying an attacking enemy. We've covered all nuclear powers. In addition to these, there are several other NATO member states: Germany, Italy, Turkey, Belgium, and the Netherlands, on whose territory U.S. nuclear weapons are deployed. These are typically B-61 bombs. The air forces of these countries are trained in their use. Formally, these countries are not nuclear powers, but nuclear weapons can be used from their territories by mutual agreement with the de facto owner, the United States. In March 2023, Russia and Belarus, strategic partners within the Union State, also agreed to deploy Russian tactical nuclear weapons in Belarus. Under this agreement, Belarus will have several dozen nuclear warheads in storage. The Iskander tactical missile systems, previously deployed in Belarus, and hypersonic missiles Oreshnik, capable of carrying nuclear warheads, as well as tactical aircraft updated in 2024 in all aspects of nuclear warhead use, can be used as delivery vehicles. According to reports, Oreshnik medium-range missile systems, capable of carrying both conventional and nuclear warheads, were deployed in Belarus in December 2025. According to recent statements by President Lukashenko, up to 10 such missiles may be deployed in Belarus. No quantitative data on other types of nuclear weapons has yet been released. It is still unknown whether Belarus will have its own red button and its own nuclear briefcase. If so, it will be part of the Russian Nuclear Forces' command and control system. This means that Belarus will be able to block or permit the use of nuclear weapons from its territory, but their independent use is completely ruled out. By deploying nuclear weapons in Belarus, Russia will reduce its flight time to targets in Europe. Another group consists of countries that possess nuclear triads. A nuclear triad includes three components: Aircraft capable of carrying nuclear weapons, land-based missiles, submarines with ballistic and cruise missiles carrying nuclear warheads. Of the 9 nuclear powers, only the United States, Russia, China, India, and possibly Israel possess nuclear triads. However, only the nuclear triads of the United States, Russia, and China are strategic in nature. In our short overview, we provided general information about nuclear powers and the number of nuclear warheads they possess. You can download the illustrative MapsPause, the link in the description. Thanks for watching the video. See you soon.